Ready, set, hut, hut!
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sounds of gold and blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 50, the 10, the 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tay Von Austin.
The Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride!
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Boot. Not this night!
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the gold and blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into the Country Roads webcast. We're providing you West Virginia sports content from Mountaineer fans for Mountaineer fans. And told you guys I'd be back for some more WVU basketball transfer portal updates, and they'd be coming out, hot and heavy as this thing progressed, but didn't think it would be this quick. No sooner than I got off the live stream earlier, a couple hours later, we had one freshman enter the portal. A few hours later, another freshman enters the portal. So what was one transfer departure for West Virginia last portal update we talked about here for the basketball team is now 3 portal departures for West Virginia, and we'll talk about the other 2 here throughout this stream. But additionally, we're going to add one more target to the transfer contact list there for West Virginia on our CRW transfer portal tracker here on this stream as well. So not all pessimistic. We got some optimism as well with another target to add to the list, and I'll show you guys the full target list for West Virginia thus far in the portal in case you missed the earlier stream, but be sure to check it out for more info on all those guys. But I will get there when I pull up the transfer portal tracker momentarily, which I will do. But just want to say thank you guys for tuning into this one. I know we're coming at you a little bit later on this one this evening, but that's all right. We won't keep you too long for it. Just wanted to get to this while it was still fresh and talk about these transfer departures for West Virginia. But if you are in here watching, whether live or on a playback, be sure you hit that thumbs up button, help out with that crazy YouTube algorithm, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That way you'll be notified when we go live, because we'll be doing it plenty. Like I said, it's going to be probably pretty close to daily, maybe multiple times a day like it has been today throughout the WVU football, basketball portal here, trying to keep up with all the portal movement as the portal opened today. Still technically, the dead period, people can enter. They can't start visiting places until Friday, and West Virginia does have people planning to visit then as soon as it opens. So I think we will be seeing commits in short order, but we do know of the departures now and some targets that we'll talk about throughout the stream. If you're in here live, throw your thoughts there in the live chat. Trying to get some of your all's comments towards the end of this before we wrap up. But other than that, let's get ready to dive in. Let's talk some WVU basketball portal updates here. Let me pull the transfer tracker back up here from earlier when we just had Evans Barning Jr. on there at the time. Now we add Jayden Forsythe, the freshman who, played in a few games but was on his way to be, a redshirt freshman next season. And then DJ Thomas, the freshman that played extensively and was a huge part of this team, top 7 in minutes played, in the top 7 of the rotation there on offense, and was one of the main guys we were all hoping to retain. So I think that one was the most shocking and probably the most detrimental thus far, was DJ Thomas deciding to enter the portal. So that's where we're at for the transfers out for now, and let's talk about when these were announced here and a little bit of background info on them. Then we'll talk the new target as well and get to some of your all's comments before we wrap up after that. Like I said, won't keep you too long since we're doing this one a little bit later in the evening. But earlier today, it was first Jayden Forsythe, who announced his plans to enter the transfer portal there on 3, sharing that earlier today. And this one was disappointing as well because he's someone that I was excited about for the future to be a potential really good piece on this team because he is an absolute sniper, a really good shooter, and could have been, that guy that, you have waiting on the Miles Sadler drive and dish to kick out to hit a 3. Jayden Forsythe very well could have been one of those guys. So, was looking forward to that potential. So did hate to see him enter the portal. And just for a little background on him, for those of you that may not remember, he was a late flip for West Virginia to add to last year's recruiting class, was committed to Xavier, then West Virginia flipped him, and he was very highly regarded coming out of high school. As you see here on 247, coming out of high school, they gave him a 90 grade. He was a 4-star recruit, a top 2 player in the state of Pennsylvania, nearly a top 120 player nationally. So he will land on his feet wherever he ends up. And I do like to add here in these, I think it's less likely that it happens in basketball, but it does happen some, and it certainly happens a lot in football. Just because someone enters the portal doesn't mean they necessarily have to leave. They may enter the portal, see what type of offers they get, come back to your school, see if they'll match it, and there's a chance they return. That's always, something that's in the cards. I think we got to throw in here with these portal updates. But you see, Jayden Forsythe, very highly regarded coming out of high school. And then DJ Thomas, the one that really hit hard, came a little bit later this evening. If I could find the announcement of it here, I believe Sam Kaiser was where I saw it here. Yep, Sam Kaiser Hoop sharing that DJ Thomas is entering the transfer portal, 6'9" forward out of Allen, Texas, who was originally committed to Ross Hodge at North Texas, followed him to WVU when he came here to coach the Mountaineers, and I think really surpassed all expectations in year one. He had a really good performance, most of the times that he was on the court. And I know his numbers don't necessarily reflect that with what he averaged, but he had some really big games. I mean, he just had one in the college basketball crown, that tournament. So, he's really had some big moments this season. And I know he's the one that I think we were all really hoping to keep. You've seen kind of that be the reaction from the fan base. I've even seen some former players have that reaction. I think it was Emmett Matthews I saw put out on social media that he was shocked that DJ Thomas decided to enter the portal because he's someone that you could have built around for the future as well. As we look here, I will pull up his numbers from the past year, but 6'7", 210, and, probably definitely more suited. His traditional position would be, kind of being a stretch 4 maybe, but here at West Virginia this year, he kind of had to play the 5 because West Virginia really didn't have anyone else behind Harlan Obioha, so he was kind of tasked with that. And I think that's what's even more impressive is at 6'7", he really held his own playing that 5 spot at times this year, especially to be a true freshman and be called upon as much as he was. Nearly averaged 7 points per game, 2 rebounds on nearly 50% from the field. And you see his numbers there, 27% from the 3-point line. But like I said, some big games. The most recent one being against Creighton, 20 points in that one, 40% from the 3-point line, 64% from the field. Really good in the post there when he gets in there as well. And I think his jumper's only going to continue to improve throughout his career. So, wish him well if he doesn't end up returning to West Virginia. But that one definitely hurt and was probably the most shocking one thus far of the 3 portal departures for West Virginia, which leads to this here. I saw Chris Anderson of 247 Sports put this out on social media. Just when we finally thought, we've had to rebuild the roster entirely, 2 or 3 years in a row, at least we won't have to do that this year. Still kind of doing that, as you see him stating that with DJ Thomas entering the portal, that means the top 7 players in minutes played for WVU will be gone. So yet another complete overhaul, more or less. And we knew that because, the starters were all seniors, but then you had DJ Thomas that could return. You had Jayden Forsythe, who you knew you had waiting in the wings, hopefully. You do still have Amir Jenkins and Mo Ugasuk who could potentially return. Fingers crossed those guys still decide to stay Mountaineers. And I do, have kind of a gripe with this, not against the players specifically. Like I said, I wish both those guys well. But I think in just today's day and age, this is the fear that you have as a college basketball fan, college football fan as well, that even when you get like a big-time recruit or you get an under-the-radar recruit that ends up being a lot better than people expected in some cases, whatever it may be, and he plays really well as a freshman, this is what you have to worry about happening right away. Right after that is, unfortunately, after his freshman season, leaving and wanting to go, to a blue blood school or something like that. And it just makes it hard to, root for guys anymore. I mean, you definitely still can always root for the program, but, as someone who likes to, or has always liked to, buy players' jerseys, have my favorite player's jersey for all 4 years of his career, or at least, a couple years. It's so hard now because you could even, pick out somebody as a freshman, be like, this guy's going to be really good. I'm going to get his jersey, but he may, leave the very next year. So then you got the jersey, got it for a year, I guess, maybe if you get it early enough into their career. But, that's just a personal gripe of mine with the system today, since the NIL and transfer portal. There's some good things about it, but there's still some bad things about it. And I think this is one of the downsides. It seems like this keeps happening to us here at WVU. Every time we find somebody that's good, they'll be here a year or two and then want to leave. We've seen it, in football with guys that have, went on to other places and went to the NFL, like Key Mesidor this past year at Miami for one, and then we've seen it in basketball multiple times now as well. And like I said, nothing against these young men. They still could potentially return, and I wish them the best no matter what. It's just more of a gripe on the system currently in college sports, unfortunately. But maybe they're going to get some regulations in there with a chance to change it to 5 playing 5 and the one-time transfer rule, and then you have to sit out. That could help alleviate that, and I think some teams now, I know WVU football is doing it, and I'm sure more are going to follow doing it this way, are trying to get players on multiple year contracts so you can avoid things like this as well. So that's just something that comes to mind when you lose a couple of talented freshmen that you would have liked to keep here, with what West Virginia has done here with the loss of DJ Thomas and Jayden Forsythe now for West Virginia. So wanted to talk about that. But let's get the negative out of the way. Let's move on to the positive side here and talk transfer portal targets, and then I'll get to some of your all's comments here before we wrap up in this one. So do have one guy that we're going to add to the list. Portal Predict has been a pretty good source here on social media, NCAA Recruiting Center. Reports are West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Tennessee have been in contact with the elite freshman guard. That would be Jacob Walker from Sam Houston, as I will pull him up now and show you guys some of his numbers from this past season when he was a true freshman and played really well at Sam Houston. And then we will show the transfer target list with him now added in. And he's another guard. Him and Jason Edwards that we talked about earlier on the other stream are the only two players that West Virginia really has as targets currently that are not lengthy. They're both about 6'1", and of course they would be in your backcourt, but everyone else, even some of the guards you're targeting, are 6'6" or taller. So West Virginia definitely going after some length in the portal. It looks like length, and then if you're not long, you're a pretty good scorer. That's been the formula that we've seen thus far, and they're targeting one veteran that's 6'1" guard that can really score with Jason Edwards, and now targeting a youngster in the portal as well with Jacob Walker from Sam Houston. Like I said, 6'1", 185, originally from Memphis. 11.5, nearly 12 points per game as a true freshman is pretty good. 2 rebounds per game and nearly 3 assists per game. And he shot 44% from the field. Really good numbers there. 3-point range, 36%, not terrible there for a true freshman. 75% from the free throw line. Assist to turnover ratio could improve, but you got to think it would, throughout his career, being young, being a freshman, probably only going to improve. The way that he can score the ball, when he was called upon to do that as a true freshman, is pretty impressive, especially the 12 points per game on 44% field goal percentage. That's not too shabby. You look at some of his recent games there, 15 points, 6 assists, 17 points, 6 assists, 23 points, 4 assists. Those are really good numbers put up here. So another good target for West Virginia here in Jacob Walker that we will now add to our recruiting tracker. So let's pull that back up here. Now that we've talked about the departures, let's talk some targets. The departure list there still Evans Barning Jr., Jayden Forsythe, and DJ Thomas, in case you guys missed earlier or hopped in here later. But this is the updated transfer target list for West Virginia thus far. There may be more than this, just at the time of this stream, the ones that I've been able to find out about, via social media personally. But definitely there are some very solid ones here, and we add Jacob Walker's name to that list now for the transfer targets for West Virginia here. And just to run through some of the other names, like I said, I did a stream earlier if you want to see the stats of some of these guys and hear a little bit more about them. But the top two names with Muhammad Sia and Javon Buchanan are definitely ones that I would probably have on commitment watch, especially Buchanan, because he's already announced that he's visiting WVU as soon as that's available to happen, starting on the 10th. Then Jason Edwards has a history with Ross Hodge. If he can get a eligibility waiver for a final season, which I think is likely, he could be one that has a good chance of ending up at WVU, I think. So those top three, I think, are some of the most likely right now, with the top two being pretty solid, I think, to feel good about their chances to end up at West Virginia. Then you have Brant Byers from Miami of Ohio, a great shooter, a 6'8" guard. Tyleek Weeks, who's a forward from Southern Miss at 6'7", really good scorer as well. Adam Olson from South Alabama, 6'8", 225. And then Ian Elmer, the other Miami of Ohio guard. So you're really targeting two guards from Miami of Ohio that can really shoot the basketball well. Isaac Salazar from Yale, also on the list, a 6'6" forward. So you see what I'm talking about there, the theme of the length there. Everyone at least 6'6" besides the two guards that I mentioned earlier with Jason Edwards and now Jacob Walker on the list. But there is the updated transfer target list for West Virginia at this time. Wanted to give that another look since we had to come back on here and talk about a couple of departures. I didn't want it to all be disappointing. Let's talk about some hopeful stuff here as West Virginia looks to add to the transfer in list on the transfer portal tracker here in the near future, and excited about that. But appreciate you guys that tuned in here live. Appreciate you for watching this on a playback as well. But I will get to some of your all's comments here that tuned into this live. If you're watching on a playback and didn't get a chance to chat here, throw your thoughts in the comment section. Always appreciate those interactions as well. And like I said, just make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you hit the thumbs up button before you head out to help out with that crazy YouTube algorithm. Hey, Tim Green, my main man. What's up, brother? Let's go Mountaineers. I feel you, Tim. Good to see you, man. Let's go Mountaineers as always. JR in the house. What's up, JR? Channel member Tim Green says, I can't believe DJ Thomas left. I don't understand why. Oh, well, let's go Mountaineers. Moving on, baby. Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's not irreplaceable, but I think that he is a guy that just could have been a key piece that we were all really hoping to keep. And probably as far as guys you wanted to retain, I would say he was the number one on the list for most people as far as the youngsters that you could bring back. So I think that's definitely why it's, disappointing. But, if I'm trying to be optimistic, which you guys know I always am, you can replace DJ Thomas. Some of those names on the transfer target list would be good, potential replacements maybe there if some of those guys get to come into West Virginia. And let's not forget, the Mountaineers could still be in the mix for Paul Osarui, the big man there that plays with Miles Sadler, who's, just as high rated as Miles Sadler. So that would be, a decent replacement as well. And that's not a knock on DJ Thomas. Like I said earlier, I think he's going to be really good. But, trying to be optimistic as well. You got to always look and find the bright side. Alan Kinzel kind of echoing some of my gripes when I talked about kind of the status of the portal and such currently, as he says he personally thinks that people who donate money to the NIL fund deserve to know why a player enters the portal. That would be, a good practice. That would be a good practice. Eric Flowers, channel member, says that one felt like a gut punch. Can't describe it any other way, man. That's a great way of putting it, Eric. It really was. Super shocking and disappointing. Mr. Zapman says, it's sad that us fans will never get to know the real reason why Thomas left. Oh, well, Hodge will find a replacement for him. It's DJ's loss. Let's go Mountaineers. There you go. Find you a bright side, Mr. Zapman. Find you a bright side, like we said. Eric Flowers says, I would suspect a Texas team has come poaching. Very likely with him being an Allen, Texas native. It's very much possible. WVU Forest in the house. Let's go Mountaineers. Indeed, WVU Forest. Let's see. Tim Green says, wherever these young men end up, I wish them the very best and thank them for playing with West Virginia at least 1 year. I do wish they would stay, however. Well said. Well said, Tim. Eric Flowers says, I'm all about people making money and making more money, but I don't see how a college sports can go this wide open, unregulated free market. Something has to be done. Yeah, regulation's got to come, man. I think we're getting close to it. I think we're getting close to having something. You're never going to put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak, but they can do some things to try and alleviate how crazy it is and how crazy it's continued to be, since, a couple of years after it started. Big Dan T says he expected it. I mean, I had a bad feeling, like if I was trying to be, negative, I of course tried to block that part out, but I didn't have the best feeling. That's what, just because, like I talked about earlier, when you have someone that's having a good season and impressing as a true freshman, that's always in the back of your mind that could potentially happen, sadly. So, yeah, it sucks, man. It sucks that DJ Thomas is heading out, but that's the downside of the update. The positive side is we do have some really good guys that we're targeting. We added another one to the list with Jacob Walker here in this stream, and I appreciate you guys that tuned in, even though this one came a little bit later. But I'll continue to bring you guys transfer portal updates throughout this process, as hopefully the rest of them are more positive and more about targets, and we don't have, any more departures. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever you got to do there, superstitious-wise, to, help West Virginia with that. But that being said, looking forward to talking some more about the portal throughout this process with you guys, and there'll be plenty of live streams coming to do that. Be sure to tune in to WVU News Daily as well, which is coming out every morning, pre-recorded on the channel, covering all WVU sports, in addition to just the football and basketball cover on these live streams. But having said that, I'll let you guys get out of here and be back and talk to you guys tomorrow, I'm sure. Appreciate you guys. Hopefully some more good portal news for West Virginia comes through tomorrow. Maybe some more targets, maybe some more news of some of these guys visiting. Whatever we get, I'm looking forward to it and excited about this process, guys. But I appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night. And as always, let's go Mountaineers.